The Fire Rises. The Embers of Muaat are the Warsun faction, which anyone who has ever had the bright idea of picking them already knows. But are they too hot to handle? Well, no. Muaat are generally considered to be a low-tier faction, and are oftentimes ignored by players, but they have enough going for them to be worth trying. If you want to outshine your opponents in TI4, then keep on watching. Here is the definitive guide to winning with the Embers of Muaat. I will also be discussing the Warsun as a unit. Let's start by analyzing their faction abilities. First, Starforge. Action. Spend 1 token from your strategy pool to place either 2 fighters or 1 destroyer from your reinforcements in a system that contains 1 or more of your Warsuns. The way you use this ability is obvious. To support your Warsuns. But spending 1 strategy token for 2 fighters or a destroyer, which both have a cost of 1, is just bad on its face. This ability is best used as a stall tactic, in my opinion. Their second ability is Gashlai Physiology. I hopefully said that properly. Your ships can move through supernovas. Yes, supernovas basically being your own little tiles is nice, but this ability is at best very situational and at worst utterly insignificant. I wish I had a hot take here, no pun intended. But yeah, I agree with the general consensus on this one. Their faction abilities are very weak in the base game. I think that them starting with the Warsun unit was seen as a bigger advantage in the base game because it was harder to research, but in Prophecy of Kings that is no longer the case. But can their leaders compensate? Let's take a look. First is their agent, Umbat. Their ability reads, Action. Exhaust this card to choose a player. That player may produce up to 2 units that have a cost of 4 or less in a system that contains one of their Warsuns or their Flagship. This agent might as well be an apology note for their lousy faction abilities because it does what Starforge does, only better. It's also an action which can help you stall when needed. It is also easy enough to sell off to other players on the board. But being able to build a couple ships to support your Warsun without locking the system up is quite strong. Destroyers are your friend here. The Warsun's weakness is fighter swarms. So building destroyers can be a counter to this with their anti-fighter barrage. You're going down the red tech path anyway. Picking up Destroyer 2 is a no-brainer. Anti-fighter barrage that hits on 6x3 is kryptonite for fighter hordes. Especially when you consider destroyers do only cost 1. The Warsun unit is like the queen in chess. Both extremely mobile and extremely deadly, but it is also your most valuable piece besides the king. And of course, it can't be left vulnerable. Second, their commander, Magnus, who is unlocked by producing a Warsun. After you spend a token from your strategy pool, you may gain 1 trade good. This is also compensating for that shitty Starforge ability, and makes it a little more worth it to use it. Being able to generate trade goods when you need them can be very helpful for a myriad of reasons. Okay, now let's talk about their hero, which is perhaps the craziest in the game, who you unlock by having 3 scored objectives. Adjudicator Baal, Nova Seed. After you move a Warsun into a non-home system other than Mecatol Rex, you may destroy all other players' units in that system and replace the system tile with the Muaat Supernova tile. If you do, purge this card and each planet card that corresponds to the replaced system tile. You get to destroy a tile and turn it into a supernova. This hero is the main reason I ever picked the Muaat to begin with. It's hard to resist having the ability to transform the board. This hero is game-changing since you are the only player who can move through a supernova. If you play your cards right, you can even have 2 right next to each other. Destroy your opponent's most valuable system and all the ships in it. Plus, you can park all your units in said system, and your opponent has no real means to retaliate. This may be the scariest hero in the game, with the Mehach Gene Sorcerer's hero coming in second. Their mech, Ember Colossus, works synergistically with their aforementioned abilities. It reads, when you use your Starforge faction ability in this system, or an adjacent system, you may place 1 infantry from your reinforcements with this unit. And it has sustained damage. An extra infantry is nice, but overall this mech is nothing to write home about. Time to talk about faction techs. Muaat have 2. First is Magnus Reactor, a red tech with 2 red prereqs. It reads, your ships can move into supernovas. Each supernova that contains 1 or more of your units gains a Production 5 ability, as if it were one of your units. A space dock with extra production that can't be destroyed. What else can you ask for? This allows you to build a huge number of units to accompany your War Sons. This tech is strong and is absolutely essential for Muaat. I would take it for granted that you research this. Your next tech or techs is Prototype War Son 1, which costs 12, hits on 3x3, has a movement of 1, and a capacity of 6. It also has sustained damage. Bombards 3x3 and causes other players in the system to lose planetary shield. So a War Sun with only 1 movement, they must have figured out giving it the 2 movement would have been too big of an advantage right off the start, since Muaat starts with the unit. Where the real power of this faction tech lies is the unit upgrade, Prototype War Sun 2, which drops the cost down to 10 and bumps the movement up to a whopping 3. While keeping everything else the same. This is the strongest unit in the game, and as you can see, Muaat's gameplay is completely one-dimensional and War Sun focused. You can build 2 War Suns for a discount, then strike far across the board. No one is safe. This unit requires proper defense and support, because every player is going to want to blow it up Death Star style. Luckily, Muaat's abilities and faction tech are well suited for the job. Muaat's faction promissory note, Fires of the Gashly, I still think I'm saying that wrong, is highly sought after. It reads, Action. Remove 1 token from the Muaat player's fleet pool and return it to their reinforcements. Then, gain your War Sun unit upgrade technology card. Then, return this card to the Muaat player. So you can give any player the War Sun tech, and everybody wants the War Sun tech. This one is easy to trade off. However, it is worth noting that in Prophecy of Kings, the AI development algorithm tech makes getting the War Sun less of an arduous process, and more accessible to all players. This promissory note is still valuable though, so identify which player is farthest from getting the War Sun, and see if you can get a screaming deal from them. Or, alternatively, guard this prom note with your life, and never give it out to maintain your advantage. Now, onto their flagship, the Inferno. What a great name. It has a cost of 8, hits on 5x2, has a movement value of 1, and a capacity of 3. Its abilities are Sustain Damage and Action. Spend 1 token from your strategy pool to place 1 cruiser in this unit's system. This ability is mediocre considering Muaat aren't the best faction in terms of command token economy to begin with, but we do love to see the 5x2 combat rolls to the flagship, so it's still a good addition to their War Sun based fleets. Embers of Muaat have the most unique start of any faction. Let's analyze it now. They start with 1 home planet, Muaat, with 4 resources and 1 influence. I would like to see a little more influence considering how dependent they are on strategy tokens, but still a fine start. Their starting fleet is 1 War Sun, 2 fighters, 4 infantry, and 1 space dock. I call Muaat the beginner trap because noobs to the game always want to pick them because they start with the War Sun and just have a cool theme in general. Yeah, the War Sun will dissuade enemies from attacking you super early, but they were unlikely to do that anyway, and the 1 movement on your War Sun also prevents you from attacking them. It will also prevent you from easily taking more than 1 system on your first turn, unless you utilize Warfare's secondary ability. Or, I suppose, you could use your agent to build 1 carrier and 1 destroyer, but that will limit what else you're able to do on your turn, like using tech's secondary ability. Overall, a slow start, but still workable. Decide what is most important for your first turn. Usually, that will be expansion. Which is the perfect segue to the first round, general strategy, and objective section of the video. On your first turn, you have 2 ideal options for strategy cards. Pick Technology or Warfare. The purpose of Technology is to rush your War Sun upgrade. Get those 3 movement War Suns on the board as fast as you can. That unit tech is Muaat's biggest advantage, so it's important to capitalize on it. Warfare is simply a remedy to your slow start. Warfare is also just generally a productive first strategy card for most factions to begin with. Gobbling up resources and influence to have a huge second turn should be your goal. Muaat need all the strategy tokens they can get to use their abilities. You may ask why not take leadership, and the reason is because the tokens won't have much utility until your next turn, so other options take precedence. Your third option would be to take trade to assist in early game production, or to just bank trade goods when it's time to build that second War Sun. It can also give you a little more flexibility in case you need to use text secondary. On to general strategy. Yes, ironically, the Muaat's entire gameplay revolves around the War Sun and their ability to produce and then attack. Rushing the War Sun is your top priority. Do whatever you have to do to use both of tech's primary abilities. Tech skips are your best friends as the Muaat. A nice yellow tech skip is a godsend. You can get your prototype Warsun 2s in 2 turns in a perfect world. If I were you, I would move mountains to make that happen. Every other player already assumes you're rushing the tech, so don't worry about incurring their wrath if you get teamed or attacked. It was going to happen anyway. Just focus on not losing your Warsuns. Try to ally with one of your neighbors. If handing out your faction promissory note or exchanging support for the throne is what it takes, then that's what it takes. Don't try to take on the world, or the galaxy rather. Utilize your supernova safe zones to keep your Warsuns safe, and then attack precisely and strategically. Remember, ABS, always be scoring. That's how you win TI4, not by winning space battles. Make sure to use your hero creatively to score objectives when possible. It's rather effective in doing so. Muaat's gameplay is topsy-turvy. You're rushing the red tech path, you're building destroyers. If you try to play a normal TI4 game with Muaat, you're going to have a bad time. None of the steadfast TI4 methodology applies to them. I theorize that's the reason a lot of players struggle playing Muaat or think that they suck. Let's chat about Mecatol Rex, everyone's favorite planet. Planning 2 Warsuns on Mecatol that can strike all over the board with their 3 movement is the best case scenario for Muaat. Only issue is, I don't see any savvy group of TI4 players allowing that to happen. Once you build your Warsuns, pick your moment and take the planet. Muaat are an above average Mecatol Rex faction. But their fleets are still best placed in their precious supernovas, so it's a catch-22. Perhaps using your hero on a system adjacent to Mecatol so that you can have a fleet there on standby to take the planet when you wish is a smart move. Again, it all depends on the state of the board and your ability to score VPs. Muaat are well suited for scoring the following objectives: develop weaponry, negotiate trade routes, engineer a marvel, explore deep space, make history, conquer the weak, achieve supremacy, become a legend, and rule distant lands. Everyone loves a good tech path, so here's Muaat's. Here is the exact path I would follow. You're going to want to go down the green tech path towards X-89 bacterial weapon. Just kidding. Here's the actual tech path. AI dev algorithm, Magnus reactor, prototype Warsun 2, Destroyer 2, assault cannon. From there on, it's dealer's choice. PDS2 is always a home run. Sarween Tools is a nice touch since you'll be producing so much. You can research Duranium armor if you wish, but I'm far too paranoid to ever sustain damage on my Warsuns, unless all 4 direct hit cards are in the discard pile or in my hand. This is one of the only factions where you can legitimately justify going down the pure red tech path, so enjoy it and appreciate it when you're playing Muaat. In conclusion, the Embers of Muaat are a terrifically fun faction who offer a rewarding change of pace. If you love building Warsuns, then they're without a doubt the faction for you. And that hero, come on, who doesn't want to eviscerate an entire tile and turn it into a supernova? If ultraviolet ultraviolence is your thing, choose the Muaat. Follow this guide, and you'll have some TI4 victories on the horizon. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Talk to you guys next time. Bye.